To this now, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has been hailed for his role in the fight against corruption as he gears up to hang up his robe this month. Justice Zondo completes his 12-year non-renewable stint in the country's apex court. My colleague Iman Rapetti sat down with the outgoing Chief Justice as he bows out.
Judge Zondo, thank you very much for having us in your office. I mean, I'm wondering what's going through your mind, because these are the last couple of days and hours that you're here.
Yes. Well, I have 1 week left here. I've been here for 12 years. And yeah, everything has to come to an end.
Are you going to take an artifact or two?
No.
Leaving everything for Justice Maya.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Justice Maya gave you such a heartfelt acknowledgement for ensuring that women get a chance to be in the driver's seat. And she said in your short 2 years as CJ, this in an institution that only had one judge president for 27 years, suddenly 2 women judges president. And there are now more deputy women judges president and a woman deputy chief justice, and now, of course, a woman Chief Justice. So it's symbolic in a way, because you yourself were given a chance by a woman, Victoria Mxenge.
Of course.
How urgent is the transformation project as far as women's representation in the judiciary to you?
It's quite urgent. We feel better now than we were feeling about it some time back because of where we are with regard to gender transformation. But still, there is still a long way before we come to a point where we are happy. So a lot of work has to be done. But for us to reach where we have, the point that we have reached, is taking a long time.
Are men selfish? Are men selfish?
Well, I don't know about that. I can just say this. Judges, presidents, heads of court have been very committed to make sure that their courts are transformed in terms of gender and race. But I think the biggest problem is the pool from which we have to get women, practitioners. Because obviously with judges, you go to practitioners. I mean, if you look at the Constitutional Court, 30 years after we reached our democracy, we have a situation where if you look at practitioners who appear before us in the Constitutional Court, there are very few women, particularly women who would be lead counsel. There are very few.
Do you know why that is?
Well, yes, I know. That's because when you go to practitioners, the women are very few. You will find that if you go to universities on graduation days, more women are graduating in law than men. Actually, my daughter, Nkosi, got admitted as an attorney about 3 weeks ago in Pietermaritzburg, and there were 14 of them who were being admitted on that day, and I think there may have been only 4 men.
So where's the problem?
So the universities seem to be producing more law graduates who are women than those who are men, and it looks like in terms of passing their admission exams as attorneys, if what I saw when my daughter was being admitted is anything to go by, more women get admitted. But then once they get admitted, they don't stay long in practice. They move on somewhere. Sometimes they move to the corporate world, private sector. But basically, when they are in practice, we as society are not supporting them. Let me make an example. The private sector, when it comes to black lawyers and women lawyers, they don't give them a lot of work, the private sector. But also, sometimes even with our own government, the support is not there. In many cases, I mean, to a large extent, there's been improvement as far as the briefing of black advocates, black attorneys, and women by our government. Some years back, we had to fight for this. There has been some change, but let me make an example. In regard to the review applications that I have to deal with arising from the commission, I've got 3 law firms which are representing me in different matters. They are all black, but 2 are women. It's law firms that are owned by women, small law firms. They are helping me. The government has not paid them for over a year. Actually, in regard to some 2 years, we are fighting about what they should be paid at. Government wants to pay them at magistrates' court tariff fee rates when they are doing high court work, something that's totally unacceptable. I don't know if there are any other legal practitioners who have been offered when they are doing high court work to say we will pay you at the rate of magistrates' court.
Yeah, there's a
That
deep
is
injustice.
happening. It's unacceptable.
Justice Meyer also acknowledged the valuable counsel you gave her on the challenges that face the judiciary. What did you share with her, and what advice did you give her on how to address them?
Well, I don't know what she had in mind, but over the 2 years that she has been here, she and I have been talking about a lot of matters, and we have been sharing when there are certain challenges. We have been discussing, and she would make input as well. So I don't know which one in particular she had in mind, but we have been working very well together.
I want to talk about judicial independence. It's a major theme in South Africa. It has been historically. When you realized that leadership and intervention was needed over the issue of then Judge President John Hlophe regarding the Judicial Court Tribunal, which found him to have exhibited gross misconduct in trying to improperly influence 2 constitutional court judges. He's of course now been impeached. You warned that it would hurt the judiciary and that you should intervene, you and others. You tried and failed, apparently, to include Hlophe as well, according to Justice Mogoeng, what he said at your gala dinner. Take us back into the moment and why it does signify an important moment for the judiciary.
Well, let me say what the former Chief Justice, retired Chief Justice Mogoeng was talking about was that when the issue of Judge Hlophe started in 2008, I initiated that as heads of court, we should come together and meet and see how it could be resolved before it could, damage the image of the judiciary, and before maybe it could get out of hand. So we met at the boardroom in the Labour Appeal Court, and we had a discussion, and an agreement was reached that some of us should try and talk to both sides, that is, Judge Hlophe and the justices of the Constitutional Court, to try and see whether there could be a way of resolving this matter.
Like what?
Well, basically, at that stage, I mean, now, of course, we know quite a lot now, because there have been litigation. But basically, when you have any dispute, one of the things you want to look at is whether there isn't any misunderstanding and whether the dispute can be resolved without litigation. That's what lawyers do, And that basically what we wanted to do, to say, if this matter can be resolved, let's explore that, because if there's going to be litigation, you can imagine, that's what we had in mind at the time. You can imagine you will have a Chief Justice, a Deputy Chief Justice, a Judge President, all being cross-examined in a lengthy hearing that might ultimately damage the judiciary. So if there is a way of resolving it amicably, finding out, even if we use mediation, let's explore that. That's what we wanted to do. But it did not happen because Judge Hlophe didn't cooperate.
Was that a missed opportunity on his part, do you believe?
Well, I think that it was a missed opportunity because maybe a resolution may have been found.
What could that have looked like?
Well, I'm not sure, but a resolution, one would have been open. One would have, obviously, when it's mediation, or even negotiation, any settlement would have to be a settlement that is acceptable to both parties.
Because, you know, he feels deeply aggrieved by the outcome now.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But, but that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to try and resolve it. And, of course, mediation is can be quite helpful in any dispute.
There was a period you talked about, and I really sat up and thought about this, where you were blocked from ascending to the Concourt with the retired Chief Justice Mogoeng. You were whispered to, is the term that was used, that there were very powerful forces who were conspiring to ensure that you were not appointed. And you say you stood no chance, so you just withdrew your nomination. In fact, you took later on what you described as a demotion after being a Labour Appeals Court Judge President for a decade. Judge Zondo, this is quite a serious thing. And I mean, it smacks of interference and power. Did you have no recourse to report it, to out it, and the people who were clearly invested in who got the seat?
Well, if you want to report anything, you must have evidence. And sometimes what you are told is, look, I can't give you evidence, but I'm just mentioning to you that this is the situation. So you don't have evidence. So it's up to you. You can say, okay, I'll go ahead, or you can say, that's it. I won't take part. I will withdraw, which is what I decided at that time.
You know, it leaves the public in almost in an invidious position because we want to know more, and by also narrating the story, we are now suspicious, but we're not quite sure where to put that suspicion. It's not helpful.
Yeah, no, it's not. But that is what can happen. You can be given information, but it's not evidence, and you must just decide. If it's not evidence, do I just ignore it, or do I change whatever? I decided at that time that I would withdraw.
And I mean, these things, I guess, are complex. So there's so much
Very
nuance
complex.
around
Even the
it.
person who tells you, they might not want to give evidence and all of that. So you must just decide what you do with it. And you don't want to discourage people from giving information that might be important also. So it's a balancing act.
You refuse to humble yourself, you say, before this individual, and we understand now, and you did talk a little bit about it, the great personal cost that your family bore for the work that you do. Were you worried for your family, besides the fact that you were determined to keep your integrity?
At that time, no, I wasn't worried for my family at that time. There was no threat to my life or safety or anything like that. So I wasn't worried for my family. I was just concerned that I would now have to go to the High Court in Pretoria and effectively take a demotion.
How did you feel in your quiet moments about that? Because, I mean, that was a big cost, right?
Well, it was, but I came to terms with it. I thought that, sometimes if you are doing the right thing, you must expect that there may be personal consequences. It's okay, And I thought that the judges in Pretoria didn't, notice anything. But when I left there, some of them said to me, "We are so happy you have been appointed to the Constitutional Court, because when you came here, we didn't know how to look at you, because you had been judge president of an appeal court. Now you're coming here, it's like a demotion. You're just one of us. So, but we are very happy for you that you have now been appointed." So, yeah.
You stood your ground. So what's your message to your colleagues and peers on the bench about resisting influence and pressure?
Well, as I have said in public platforms, if the judiciary is going to continue to enjoy the confidence of society, if it's going to continue to have credibility, integrity is paramount. And ensuring that we do our work in accordance with our oath of office is critical. I was saying during the court ceremony, and I've said it elsewhere, even the most unpopular person out there, when they come to courts, they must be treated fairly, they must be treated with respect, and they must be treated with courtesy. And win if they're supposed to win, and lose if they're supposed to lose. The most popular, when they come, they must also be treated like that, but they must win if they are supposed to win, or lose if they are supposed to lose. Just because they are popular doesn't mean they must win.
Are there some people who irritate you, some counsel? Well, because we've seen, grandstanding and, the personality plays in courts. And I suppose people will have different people in mind when they say that. But there's certain people you thought, not them again.
It does happen. It does happen.
You're not going to name names,
No.
are you? Are there a lot of colleagues, and this is on the more serious side, who fraternize with politicians, who curry favor and influence, who gossip with them? And, could it be among the factors imperiling the independence and unity of the judiciary today?
No, I'm not aware of any colleagues who do that. But obviously, politicians and judges live in the same society. Some of the politicians are people who one had something to do with in earlier life and so on. So you know them, you can talk to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are talking things that you shouldn't be talking to them about. No, I'm not aware of any judges who would fall into that category.
Do you just find that, the work that you do as a judge crosses over into your personal life, that at every station you have to be almost impeccably behaved?
Well, judges are human as well, but it's important for judges to always be alive to perceptions, because perceptions, are quite important. So sometimes you might think you are not doing anything wrong, but you might find that it will give rise to perceptions that are not appropriate. So you have got to try and avoid putting yourself in that situation.
What is your record? How many judgments do you have under your belt now?
Well, I can't give you the exact figure. One, I can't tell you all the judgments, because there would be so many that are unreported. So, but most of the time we just talk about the reported judgments. I don't have the figures, but I have a list in the JSC questionnaire.
Yeah.
I have a list there. It's quite, I think it's quite a substantial number.
Do you give yourself a little pat on the back?
Well, if I had not gone to the commission, I probably, during those 5 years when I was in the commission, I would have written more.
Yeah.
So in a way I say, so maybe I missed out, but it's fine. It was a very important assignment that I had to undertake.
I thought it was quite symbolic that your last judgment was a homage, actually, to a labor issue.
Yeah.
Because you ruled in favor of Molefi Mamasedi, the soldier who was dismissed from the SANDF. It was a case that he was fighting since his dismissal back in 2011. Did it give you a special sense of satisfaction?
Well, I did feel that he had been treated very very badly. And that the real issues were not, given attention. But what was quite remarkable for me about the case is how a single individual, just a soldier, took on the whole SANDF, and for more than 10 years fought this lonely fight, because on the papers, there is no indication that he had any union helping him or whatever. And he went to the High Court twice, he went to the SCA twice, and each time they they didn't reinstate him. And each time they found in his favor on other aspects, he kept on fighting, you know. Somebody else could easily have given up. And it may well be that some lawyers also just stuck with him and helped him, even though he might not have had money, because if he has not been working for so long, one can imagine at the unemployment rate that we have, he might have had challenges. So I was particularly taken by how determined he was to get justice.
You talk about the need for functional leadership in the judiciary. What does that look like?
Well, I think that might have been the former CJ who talked about it, but obviously we need leadership that is operational, that functions well, that identifies issues that need to be dealt with in terms of the whole judiciary, who have the right priorities for the judiciary that must be attended to, and who are effective. That's what one is looking for.
So you've had your supporters, and it's something you reflected on, something that kept you going, I think, during, the valley years, let's put it that way. But you've also had your detractors, including former President Jacob Zuma, who's now, as you can see, making a political comeback. His legal counsel, Muzisi Kakane, once told you that Zuma regarded the commission as a slaughterhouse, which had featured a slate of favorite witnesses who confirmed the dominant narrative, that Zuma was the man who messed up our country. What do you say to those who still discredit the commission and its work?
Let's start with Mr. Zuma. Interestingly, there is a clip of him, I don't know whether in YouTube or where, I can't remember, where he is addressing his supporters, I think outside, I don't know whether it was outside the commission, when he had appeared before the commission, or it was outside Pietermaritzburg High Court when he had gone there for his criminal matters, where he is talking about the commission. And he is speaking in Zulu and English. And one of the things he says is that he had told them that some of them would regret when they were pushing him to appoint this commission. So he says in that clip, I told them that some of them will regret. And then he says in Zulu, and that
they will cry.
Yes. And when he was saying that, the context was, obviously, that the commission, as he saw it, was also dealing with his enemies, if you like. That's why he was speaking like that.
Yeah.
So when it suits him and his supporters, they may say whatever they want to say with the commission. But the evidence is there that the commission looked at issues from different angles. Actually, there is a note that I had sent to the head of the legal team of the commission and the head of the investigation team in 2018, just before we started with hearings, where I instructed them that they should follow the evidence in investigating, irrespective of who it led them to. And I specifically said whether it's somebody who occupied a certain position in the past, or somebody occupied a certain position at the time, or somebody who had prospects to occupy a certain position in the future, irrespective, as long as the evidence led to somebody, they must go and investigate that person. So the commission did its work, I think, very well.
What did that say to you about Mr. Zuma's position then?
Well, Mr. Zuma didn't want to account to the nation. He was given an opportunity. he knew that there were questions he would not be able to answer. And he chose that he would rather stay away from the commission. So it is in his interest to delegitimize or just try and discredit the commission. But fortunately, I believe that the majority of South Africans welcome the work of the commission, and they were happy with how the commission worked. They are happy with the report of the commission.
There are those who say, why focus on state capture? Why not capture from big capital? And this is, one of the running narratives in the country. One can appreciate that you were appointed to this position.
Yeah.
And in fact, again, at your gala dinner, retired Chief Justice Mogoeng described the journey.
Yeah.
In a sense, it seemed as if you were the last choice.
Yeah, no, he was not looking at appointing me. I also didn't think that I could end up being appointed, because I was Deputy Chief Justice, he was Chief Justice. We should try and run the judiciary. And I was helping him to look for a judge, So he asked me to help him, where I helped him. And it was only when he was speaking to now the late Judge Mtiane, who, because we were in the same room, and Judge Mtiane said, I'm not available. Then he said, well, maybe I should ask the Deputy Chief Justice. So while he was talking on the phone, I had to prepare myself. If he asked me, what will I say? But given that we had tried to find somebody and it was not, we were not succeeding, I decided I would say yes.
So I want to go back to the issue of institutional independence, and it's one of the aspirations you have to see the institutional independence of the judiciary become real. So there's this committee that was set up and recommendations made. What are you hoping for now on that score, given that progress, as you have said, seems to have been slow?
Yeah, it's very slow, and it's slow because of the executive, I'm hoping that maybe with me gone, maybe there will be some impetus on the part of the executive, because I don't know how one has been saying to them, we need to resolve this matter. And when you speak to them, they will say, yes, we need to resolve it. But when you say, okay, we must have a meeting, you ask for meetings, it doesn't happen.
Any thoughts on what's creating that sort of, I don't want to say paralysis, but sluggishness?
Well, I don't know. It may be that maybe for the first half of this year, it may be that the fact that it was an election year also contributed, because the politicians were too busy campaigning. So it may be, but of course that doesn't explain the 10 years prior to that when they just didn't bother to respond,
Yeah.
So I had a meeting with the president on the 13th of December last year. It was the first meeting where we were going to have a preliminary discussion on this, which seemed to be promising. And we agreed we would have another meeting in a few months. And I'm leaving now. It didn't happen. So I'm hoping that maybe when I'm not there, it's going to happen.
So you talked about the elections, and I want to talk about your reflections on our government of national unity and its ability to steer the ship steadfastly, given what you've seen already. What signals tell you whether we're on the right track or not?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's too early to say anything. Maybe it's too early to say anything. So I think we must just wait and see.
You live in hope.
Well, we have to be hopeful.
So the pace is relentless, by all accounts, for someone in your role. And throughout your goodbye, you reference mountains and valleys and some sunny days. And you're from KwaZulu-Natal, that's your hometown. It's also mine, so I relate to the sunny days.
Yes.
Did you at any time, and I think over the years, in different ways, you've answered the question I'm about to ask you, but it's always good to check back in and see, because you're at a different milestone in your life now. Did you at any time regret the responsibilities that you had? And that you
No. I actually, like the idea that I was given those responsibilities, and of course, sometimes you are not as successful as you would have liked, but I have never regretted any of the responsibilities that I've been given.
So what are your passions? Everyone wants to know, what will retired Judge Zondo be doing with his time? In fact, let me bring it to the next question. We've seen retired judges continue to play a role in the life of the country. I think Sisi Khampepe as well.
Yeah.
In the Usundiso inquiry, Justice Meyer said you will have to make time
Yeah.
to assist as they continue to work to establish an efficient and unified judiciary. What are you thinking? What are you going to do?
Well, certainly I will, subject to having these 12 months that I want
Yeah, but you
to
promised
myself
your
and
wife,
family.
so,
Outside that 12 months, I certainly would assist if in the judiciary they would like me to assist, certainly in terms of issues that advance the judiciary. I would assist. I'm not so keen on commissions of inquiry and so on. But I would like to plow back and train young lawyers. So I'm very keen on that. I want to learn golf.
Oh, by the way, I was in I was traveling recently, and they have a golf ball now that they've created, which will guarantee a hole in one. Somebody should
Is
get you
that
that. Yeah, then you can impress your peers on
Well,
golf course.
So I've never played golf, so I'll try and do that. I used to play tennis some time back. I'll see if I can also play it.
You and the missus. Tennis courts.
Yeah.
I say, why not?
Yeah.
You talked about again the breadth of your career, 27 years on the bench. Your student years sound hectic, with little money to even buy Coke, let alone think about girls and look at girls. And so that in a way provided the focus that you needed to home in on your studies.
Yeah.
How would you counsel young people in a time of instant gratification and pulsating distractions?
Yeah. Well, I would say they really need to appreciate and show appreciation for the opportunities that they are given, and grab those opportunities and make the best use of them. I know they won't like this, but a lot of things that they might be rushing will still be there when they finish their degrees, It's very important for them to prioritize their studies. So yeah.
And it's something you say your mom instilled in you from a very, very young age.
Yes, from a very, very... I mean, my mom wanted all of us to really get whatever education she could give to us. And she actually fought with my sister that I come after, because my sister wanted to get married while my mom wanted her to continue at school, because my mom was saying, go to school, that's very important. So I followed, and I'm very grateful to her.
It's not so important to be liked, is it, in life, as it is to do the right thing, to stick to your values?
Of course, yeah. Doing the right thing is very important. Obviously, it's good to be liked, but if it's going to compromise doing the right thing, then it's fine.
You wanted success, not pity, and you were prepared to work hard. And I think about the Gen Zers and millennials and question whether they're built in a similar way. As you reflect, because you grew up hard and that perhaps prepared you for hardship, so you have more resilience. Do you think that families who sort of grew up with more hardship but then came into a little bit of success and moved into the middle class have done a little bit of a disservice to their children by wanting to give them everything, and robbing them of the lesson of hardship?
Well, it's an issue that I'm very interested in, because I look at children of families that are not poor, that are doing reasonably well. And I don't see the kind of determination that we had. And I know that the former Chief Justice Mogoeng thinks the same. I know a lot of people think the same. our children work hard, but we look at how hard we worked, you know. And I think some of us were propelled by poverty, by the determination to get out of poverty. And we knew that our only means of getting out of poverty was through education. So maybe some of them say, well, you know, I have my own bedroom. We didn't have my own bedroom. You shared whatever in
and
a
you're lucky to have
rondavel.
hot water too, I suppose.
Yes, yeah.
Judge Zondo, to close with the most important question. So we've seen people in positions of power retire to their farms or whatever and take up cooking. Do you cook? What's your favorite dish? And are you going to torture us with recipes on the internet?
No. I used to cook.
Right.
Quite a number of, different types of food.
South African, like
South
home
African,
food?
South
Yeah.
African, yeah, South African home. Nothing fancy.
Yeah.
But I can grill fish. I can, I do some kind of food, you know, but there's some that I used to be able to cook, which I can't cook anymore. But I won't share that with anybody on the internet or anything.
Well, thank you very much for
Yes.
allowing us this time. I know that it is a busy time, even though you're saying goodbye. So we really
Yeah.
appreciate you, and we'll be watching your
Thank
next
you.
steps with keen interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, what an engaging and informative discussion there by Iman Rapetti with the Chief Justice, who's retiring after an illustrious 27-year tenure on the bench. He can now get to playing golf and making that fish. Well, that's how we conclude news at Prime. Thabo Mdluli is standing by with In Focus. Goodbye.